Whether you're stuck in traffic, hitting the gym, or just winding down, we are here to spill the hottest tea from your favorite Bravo shows. From the wildest reunions to the quietest social media unfollows, we cover it all. So welcome back to Reality TV Podcast and Clips. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Let's get into it on 3, 2, 1. So for this deep dive, our mission is pretty focused. We're pulling together all the biggest headlines, the court documents, the interviews, basically all the crucial updates from RHOBH, Orange County, Potomac, Salt Lake City, and Southern Charm.
Right. And what we're really looking at is this intense place where private life just crashes into the public record. Financial issues, custody battles, even a photo on Instagram. It all becomes public domain.
It feels like the perfect place to start is with that financial piece because, wow, RHOBH and the revelations from Dorit Kemsley about her finances with PK.
It's staggering. We're not just talking about a marriage falling apart. We're talking about a financial implosion, all starting with their house going into pre-foreclosure.
And pre-foreclosure is such a key term here. For anyone not deep in real estate, that's basically the first official alarm bell, right?
Exactly. It's not the end of the road, but it's the lender publicly saying, hey, you're behind on payments and we're starting the legal process. It's a public notice of default.
Which is what makes Dorit's admission so shocking. The way she says she found out about it.
She claims she learned her house was going into pre-foreclosure at the exact same time as the rest of the world.
At the same time. Meaning she saw it in a headline or a public filing, not from her husband.
Can you even imagine that? You're a public figure and you find out about this catastrophic financial failure, not from your partner, but probably from a gossip site.
It's a total breakdown. Not just financially, but on the most fundamental level of trust in a relationship.
And her quote on this was so specific, it really gets to the heart of her frustration.
She said, at the very least, if you're not going to pay the mortgage, tell me you're not paying the mortgage. Let me in on it.
And then she added, these things, they're public, and then I have to answer for it. And that's the key. The fallout lands on her doorstep immediately.
She's the one who has to go out and publicly explain something she didn't even know was happening.
And she was really careful to position herself not as someone who's clueless about money. She said she's a practitioner. She knows how to handle it.
Right. But she made it clear she was not running the finances and felt like she was, I think her words were, pushed out of the equation.
Which is a defense you hear a lot, this idea of delegating the uncomfortable stuff.
And that leads perfectly into this debate we saw play out between two very different philosophies on how to handle this.
Yeah, between Amanda Francis and Bozoma Boss St. John.
Amanda kicked it off with what some people call the woo-woo advice, right? All about intentions, setting goals, manifesting success.
Which is a very popular school of thought, the idea that if you align your energy, if you think positively about money, things will work out.
But Boss St. John was just not having it.
Not at all. She immediately called it not practical. She wanted to know the action steps.
Exactly. She was like, okay, intentions are great, but what does Dorit actually do? How does she physically get a handle on the finances and get ahead of this?
I mean, Boz's point is that positive thinking isn't going to stop a foreclosure proceeding. You need a tactical plan. You need to know the numbers.
And, the woo-you stuff is so appealing because it feels good. It's easy to just intend for things to be better.
Well, sure. The action steps Boz was asking for. That's the hard part. That means logging into the bank account, looking at the debt, making the phone calls. It means facing the exact anxiety that people try to delegate away.
But to be fair to Amanda Francis, she had a really practical core message buried in her philosophy.
She did. She was very strong on the point that women have to take charge. They have to know how much money they have and where it is, even if it makes them anxious.
Her point about delegating finances entirely to a partner, she just said it never goes well.
And she was so direct. She said, it is 2025. Everyone is responsible for their own situation. And her last line was a real shot across the bow.
What was it?
She said, I just don't like people turning a blind eye to that part of their life. And that idea, turning a blind eye, is perfectly embodied by Kyle Richards.
Oh, this is where it gets so relatable. In a terrifying way. Kyle just straight up admitted she does exactly what Amanda was warning against.
She said she had also turned a very blind eye to her own finances. I mean, her quote was incredible.
She said she would rather walk down Sunset Boulevard naked than look at her American Express app.
That is such a visceral way to put it. It shows you this isn't just about being lazy. It's a deep psychological aversion, a real fear of facing the numbers.
And then Kyle tried to sort of, normalize it for Dorit's situation. She said she wasn't surprised about the Kemsley's problems.
Because PK had been upfront about filing for bankruptcy before, so in Kyle's view, it was almost predictable.
But that's when Amanda Francis came in with the killer question.
Yeah.
The one that just cut through everything.
It was perfect. She looked at Kyle's reasoning and just asked, but if you know your man's not on top of it and he's filed bankruptcy before, are you not going to keep any eye on things?
Boom. That's it. That's the whole conversation right there.
Yeah.
If you know there's a risk, delegating isn't just a choice. It's a gamble, a huge gamble.
So the big takeaway from RHOBH seems to be that awareness that financial self-protection is non-negotiable, especially when your life is this public.
And that theme of private breakdowns having very public consequences, it leads us right into our next section, which is just as intense.
Yeah, we're shifting from financial ruin to these deeply personal legal dramas where the court system just lays everything bare. We're going to Orange County now.
Okay, let's start with Travis Mullen, Gina Kirschenheiter's boyfriend. He just had a pretty major development in his custody battle with his ex-wife, Meghan Mullen.
A huge one. The court made a decision, and Travis was granted temporary physical custody of their son, Joseph.
And we should emphasize temporary, right? Because these things can change in family court.
Absolutely. But getting a temporary order like this means the judge saw enough evidence to make a significant change for the child's best interest right now.
And the restrictions placed on his ex-wife, Meghan, are they're incredibly stringent.
They are. She's limited to monitored visitation. That means she cannot be alone with her son. A third party has to be there for any and all visits.
The court order even gets into the details of their phone calls. It says Travis can monitor FaceTime calls with all 3 of their kids.
Which tells you the level of concern the court has. They're worried about the content of those conversations and are giving one parent oversight.
But the part that really stands out is the drug testing requirement. This is forensic level stuff.
It is. Meghan has to submit to up to 3 drug tests a month, and maybe more if one is positive.
And the rules around it are so specific. Travis can request a test at any time, and she has to take it within 6 hours.
That 6-hour window is critical. It implies immediate compliance. There's no room for excuses or delays.
And the penalty if she doesn't comply.
It's immediate. If she fails 2 tests in a row, her custody rights get suspended. Full stop. The court has a zero-tolerance policy in place here.
So to get to a point this extreme, you have to look at what was being alleged. Travis was claiming some serious issues.
Right. He had previously accused her of refusing to let him see his son, even said he'd called the police for help. He was concerned for his son's welfare, saying the system has completely failed him.
He also alleged she wasn't taking their son to school regularly, which points to a real lack of stability.
But we have to be fair and look at Meghan's side of this, too, because she paints a very, very different picture.
She does. She denied everything and basically framed Travis's legal actions as a form of harassment.
Her exact words were that he continues to misuse the court process to get his way. She's accusing him of using the system as a weapon.
She called it coercive control and retaliation. That's a very serious allegation to make.
And she described this one specific, terrifying incident that she claims is why their son doesn't want to see his dad.
Oh, the SUV incident.
Yeah. She alleged that Travis chased her in his SUV, cut her off, and slammed on the brakes, causing one of the kids to fly forward in the car. Travis, for his part, denies this ever happened.
So you have these 2 completely conflicting stories, and the court lands on this incredibly strict monitoring order. It's clear they see a high level of conflict.
And it's not over. They're due back in court in January.
This theme of private conflict being exposed through official documentation, it just continues with another REHOC alum.
Yes, Meghan King. And in this case, the documentation is police body cam footage.
Which is just, it's so raw. This all started when Jim Edmonds' current wife, Courtney O'Connor, called the police on Meghan.
The dispute was over Meghan entering their house. Courtney said it was without permission.
Meghan's story was that Jim had asked her to drop off their daughter's communion dress, and she just needed to pop in to ask her daughter about borrowing a rosary. A simple handoff.
That escalated so quickly once the police showed up. The body cam footage is really hard to watch.
It is. You see the officer immediately bring up a potential restraining order, and Meghan she breaks down. And when she gets emotional, he threatens to put her in cuffs.
He says, "Ma'am, we're going to detain you.
Yeah.
You have to calm down." It's so intense, and Meghan keeps insisting there is no restraining order.
And in that moment of just total distress, she starts making these really serious accusations against Jim Edmonds.
She calls him incredibly emotionally abusive and says he uses his name to push me around and his money.
And she mentioned something specific legally. She said she has ex partes against him.
Right, and an ex parte order is a temporary restraining order that a judge grants in an emergency without the other person even being there. It suggests that at some point she felt she was in immediate danger.
It points to a really long, really ugly history. She also connects it all to her kids, saying her son is struggling because his dad is moving to Nashville.
And just for context, the sources mention why her current custody situation is what it is. It's reportedly very limited, just a few weeks in the summer.
And that allegedly stems from a past incident where CPS was involved over one of her children's medications.
So when you have that context, you understand why the stakes of every single interaction are so high for her. A simple argument over a communion dress turns into a police call, which could put her limited time with her kids in jeopardy.
It's a lot of heavy stuff. The financial ruin, the custody battles.
It really is. So let's pivot a little bit. We're going to shift into romantic crossroads and boundaries, which is a little lighter but still full of drama.
Okay, yes. Let's go to RHOP. Because this story with Ashley Darby and Charisse Jackson Jordan's son, I mean, wow.
This is a masterclass in how not to handle boundaries within a friend group. The core of it is that Ashley kissed and had other romantic encounters with Jackson Jordan,
Who is her co-star Charisse's son.
her son. And Ashley confessed this to Charisse on camera, saying the first kiss happened in 2023 after Jackson drove her home from a crab boil.
That's already a pretty awkward conversation to have with your friend on national television.
But it gets worse. Later on Watch What Happens Live, Ashley admitted there were other interactions after that first kiss.
And here's the detail that just takes it to another level. She said these encounters happened while Jackson was living in Charisse's house.
In his mother's house? That changes it from a spontaneous, maybe ill-advised kiss to something that feels, I don't know, a lot more calculated and disrespectful.
You have to think she knew how that would land with Charisse, especially since she saved the reveal for the show.
And she didn't seem shy about the details either. She said Jackson made the first move and that she felt electricity between them.
Right. She made that comment about him being a little youngin', but that she liked it. She was leaning into the age gap.
So Teresa's reaction to all this is really the interesting part because it evolved over time.
At first, she was just deflecting. Right. She said she honestly didn't believe it and blamed it on show editing.
Yeah, she tried to play it cool. She said she's 60, she just wants to have fun, and she's not going to flip out for the cameras over fake or petty issues.
So she was trying to control the narrative, basically saying this is manufactured for TV.
But then the fans got involved. A fan commented that Ashley bringing this up on camera seemed designed to be disrespectful.
And that's what seemed to change her perspective.
It did. Charisse replied to that fan and said they made a valid point and that she could see the disrespect now.
It's like the public feedback forced her to see it not as a storyline, but as a personal betrayal.
And then she ended with this incredibly cynical observation. She said, "One thing I do know for certain is that there are no real friendships in this business."
That's a huge statement. It's not just about Ashley. It's about the entire reality TV world. That the need for content will always destroy real relationships.
Which is a pretty bleak thought. But
You're right.
let's move to a much more positive romantic story.
Okay, good. Let's talk about the cross-franchise connection between Vanita Aspen from Southern Charm and Carl Radke from Summer House.
This one is just, it's so different. It's all about maturity and respect and communication.
I know, it's such a nice change of pace. Vanita talked about their first date, and it apparently lasted almost 5 hours.
Which is always a good sign. They went to one bar, then a Mexican restaurant where they shut the place down, so they were clearly hitting it off.
And the rumors about them had been building for a while. They met in the Hamptons, but it really took off after a photo of them at NBC upfronts.
Right where their hands were touching. The fans went wild over that.
So,
And then they were flirty at BravoCon, and that led to the date.
but the part of this story that is so important is what Vanita did before the date even started.
The sobriety consideration, it's huge.
She texted Carl beforehand and asked him, hey, like, are you okay with if I drink?
I mean, just that simple question. It shows so much awareness and respect for someone who's in recovery. She's acknowledging that her drinking could make him uncomfortable.
And Carl's reaction says everything. He told her, well, first of all, no one's ever asked me that.
Isn't that wild? It tells you that most people just don't think about it. They prioritize their own social habits over their date's comfort or sobriety.
And Vanita didn't just ask. She was mindful during the date. She said she drank really slowly and only had one margarita the entire night.
Her focus was clearly on connecting with him, not on drinking. It's such a powerful example of how to handle these situations with grace.
It really is a very mature approach to dating in the public eye.
Okay, so for our final segment, we're shifting from relationships to image and how fans react to it. We're going to Salt Lake City.
Yes. The Lisa Barlow photo that broke the internet for a day.
The one that people said made her look unrecognizable. She posted this photo in a black dress, hair down, and she was very, very tan.
Her caption was all about her journey and dreaming big and not being stagnant. It was very motivational.
But nobody was talking about the caption. The fans completely ignored the message and focused entirely on the visual.
And the comments were not kind. Someone called her an overbaked Barbie.
It just shows you how much pressure there is to maintain a consistent look. The audience feels like they have ownership over your image.
And what was so fascinating was who they started comparing her to. It wasn't just that she looked different. It was that she looked like other housewives.
Exactly. The comparisons were flying. People said she looked like Kenya Moore or Marlo Hampton.
I saw one person who said they genuinely thought it was Lisa Milan from Dubai.
When you get mistaken for a different star entirely, that's a sign that your personal brand has shifted in a major way.
And of course, the internet did its thing, creating nicknames like Marlo Barlow.
Or half Barlow, half Marlo. And what this all points to is this kind of perceived homogenization of beauty standards in the Bravo universe.
That's a good way to put it. The makeup, the procedures, the tan,
Mm-hmm.
they all start to blend together, and the stars lose what made them look unique.
And then the fans criticize them for losing that uniqueness. It's a crazy cycle. The pressure to conform is relentless, and then you get backlash for conforming.
So let's try to pull this all together. From Dorit's financial nightmare to Meghan King's breakdown on camera to Lisa's photo. What's the common thread here?
It's the immediate and brutal public exposure of private life. Every misstep, every vulnerability is instantly broadcast and analyzed.
There's no room for error. A lack of action, like ignoring your finances, has the same public consequence as a direct action, like that kiss Ashley Darby had.
Right. It shows that in this world, awareness and being proactive are basically survival tools. You can't afford to turn a blind eye to anything.
Now, which brings us to the final thought we want to leave you with. It really goes back to that first story with Dorit and Kyle and Amanda Francis.
It does. We saw Kyle admit she'd rather face public humiliation than her own credit card statement. That comfort and avoidance is what leads to chaos down the road.
So the question for you is this. Given the intense, unforgiving scrutiny these stars face when their private mistakes become public, how does seeing that change your perspective on taking charge of the parts of your own life that you might be avoiding?
You know, the things you outsource or delegate or just don't look at because they cause anxiety.
Whether it's your money, a boundary you need to set, or just a conversation you've been putting off, that willingness to face the uncomfortable truth now.
It might be the very thing that protects you from a much bigger chaos later on. It's something to think about.